Hi there. So we have looked at how to set up audio for different digital audio workstations, and now in this series we will look how to do audio routing in different digital audio workstations. Specifically how to do it inside the digital audio workstations using techniques like sidechaining, parallel processing, and submixing or bus mixing, and how to set up those from an audio routing point of view. Again, this is not a mixing and mastering course, so I will just show the techniques how to create these type of things like sidechaining, parallel processing, and submix. Then what do you do with that, and your audio is totally up to you in your projects. Let's get started with Ableton Live and see how it is done over there. Okay, let's dive into Ableton Live and see how the audio routing is done within Ableton Live. So in Ableton Live you have many ways of doing audio routing, and we have already discussed previously about how to get the audio in and out as mentioned. But now we will look into how to route the audio within your digital audio workstation, and let's take this audio as a sample, and I'll just put it lower, but you can see that the audio is basically playing. And in this case now the audio is going directly into the main out, as you can see. And what options you have, of course, this can be that there is no input for this one, because we don't need any input. We have already the audio track over here, and we don't basically need any audio input for this track. And if we play it, then of course we hear the audio, and it basically goes through the main bus and main channel that you have in your system. And then let's take the device look. So it goes through the main, and that's it. However, you can route the audio also differently. For example, you could route the audio only into the sends, and if I now play, I hear nothing from my track and from my channel within the track, because the audio is only going into sends. And if I now open up and let the audio go into the send, in this case into echo, you can hear it in that send channel, but you don't hear it in the main channel. And this is still kind of like serial processing, so it's not parallel processing. Another thing what has been and commonly used is so-called parallel processing of audio within the digital audio workstation, or even in a mix console. But anyway, this is simulating the situation, and now I'm just processing the audio through my track. But then when I send it to another track, I start to do parallel processing of that audio. So I'm not only getting the raw audio from this track, but I'm also getting the effect of an echo from the echo track. And one interesting thing within Ableton Live is also that you can send the audio from a track to the return track, as you have seen. But you can also send from a return track to another return track within Ableton Live, but you need to go here and right click and enable the send. And in this case, if you want to send the effect already from echo to reverb, I just go and enable it, and then I'm sending it to the reverb as well. So now you can see that not only it goes to the echo, but it also goes to the reverb, and then all these three channels go to main. So that is called parallel processing. And of course in Ableton Live you can send an audio between the tracks as well. So if I now go and create another track, an audio track for example, and then let's go and find a kick pattern for example, and let's place it here. Or maybe not actually, yeah, let's do that, like let's rename this one. And let's name it as a kick. So now I have two tracks and 2 channels, and then they both play sound now directly to the main. I don't need the input over here. So now these both tracks are sending the audio into the main. However, I could also create a track and an audio track, and ask basically these channels to send into the audio track that I just created. So now both of those will send it into the audio track, and now it will go over here, and when I arm it, I hear it. But then I still need to kind of have the tracks enabled in order to get into the new audio track that we got. So you can route the audio from track to another track as you saw. A more easy way to do this if you want to do this type of a processing is that you actually don't create another track, but you actually go and select both of these and you create a group. And now you see that, okay, it's a send only, but please do send it into the group. And now the audio is sent into the group, so the group became the bus for both of these tracks, and I could just rename this as a bus. So now when I play, the audio will go not through here directly to the main, but it goes to the bus, and after the bus it goes to main. So now these are still playing and the audio is routed out from the track, but when it is routed into the bus, I control the volume of the bus from here. And that's basically how to use groups as a bus when mixing audio from different tracks. So as a summary, you can pretty much send audio to a send. You can send a return track to another return track. By default, everything is sent to the main, but you can also route it into the bus or into a group that you created. And then you can also route the audio into another track. So you have quite many options to do audio routing, and that's of course always dependent on how do you want to route your audio. So this has been, now we have basically discussed about, tracks, channels, buses, sends, and one thing that we haven't touched yet is a sidechain processing. And simplest way to show a sidechain processing is to go and take a standard compressor and place it into the reference track. And here, when you go and click on this one, you see that there is a sidechain option. You need to arm it, and then if you'd like to kind of duck the audio when the kick is hitting, you can then go over here and ask that say that the sidechain is coming from kick to this audio. And then when you start playing, you basically then start to lower your threshold, and you start to see the compression of the main signal with the kick that is coming in, and that will be ducking your audio in this channel. And this is basically the sidechaining and sidechain processing. So this track is sidechained into the compressor in this another track. And this sidechaining can take place, usually it is in gates and compressors, but it can be used elsewhere as well. There are EQs and other effects that can utilize sidechaining, like vocoder and things like that. So parallel processing, sidechaining are quite essential within processing while processing audio within the digital audio workstations. And then of course SubMix or StemMix, in a sense, in a true bus, so that you could basically have here effects that then apply to all of the tracks. Usually that would be maybe, no, I don't, it depends so much, but you could use compressor, EQ or whatever in your bus, or even a channel that could be used, like a commercial channel, like you could use an Abbey Road Red in your channel to do channel processing or bus processing for this SubMix, and so yeah. But that's pretty much it when it comes to audio routing within the digital audio workstation, and specifically now in Ableton Live. Alrighty, one more thing regarding Ableton Live and parallel processing that we haven't yet discussed, and that is actually something that is specific to Ableton Live, and you can do it also in Studio One, but we'll look how to do it in Studio One later, and now we will focus on Ableton. So in Ableton you can do a parallel processing using audio effect rack in a single track, and I'll get into it now. So first, of course, you need to pull in a audio effect rack, and then into audio effect rack you would like to bring in, for example, a reverb, and so let's go into the plugins, and we'll bring a vintage verb into here. And then of course now when it is part of the parallel processing, it can be 100% wet and delay and so on and so forth. So that's basically the starting point. But then you need to go over here and open up the channels. So you click over here. You would also like to bring out the macros, so you click over there. And then by right clicking here you can actually create a chain, and you could rename this as a as a clean or dry. So this basically represents the dry channel, and then you have the Valhalla vintage verb. And then of course now if you play, you can hear that if I just use the Valhalla and everything is routed through that, so I mute the other channel so there is no dry signal. And I'm just exaggerating the reverb here so that you can hear the difference. And then of course if I mute that one and run just the dry, so now there is no reverb in it. But then you need to go here and press on chain, and you need to go with the mouse so that it changes like this, and you drag it over, and you do the same for the other channel, your dry channel. And then you also need to do it in a way that if you wanna place it on top of here, and then drag the small bar all the way to the right in this case, and then here to the left in the dry channel phase. And this slider you can now use to basically define and determine how much wet or dry you will use. And then of course this is great to be mapped with a macro, so you can use macro to do that, and you can drive that dry wet knob here, and you could actually even rename this saying dry wet. And so now you have your dry wet selector over there, and you can basically do a parallel processing in Ableton Live using a single track and in a single track and no sense and so on and so forth. So if we now play, and now you can use the macro selector to decide how much wet signal you will bring into, how much reverb you want to bring into. So that's how you can do in Ableton Live. You can do parallel processing in a single track using Audio Effect Track. And then of course you would like to save this one and use it later, so that you don't need to kind of recreate it all the time. And so that's handy addition to standard methods of doing parallel processing in a digital audio workstation. Alrighty, that was Ableton Live and how to do parallel processing, sidechaining, and submix and bus mix in Ableton Live. Next we will go and do the same things in Pro Tools. So remember to subscribe for the channel for more content. Thanks for watching. Bye now.